Polite Enquiries, George Dobell, Jared Kimber, Lords, Celebrity Cameraman, Phil Brown. I look like a DJ asks, amongst Coley, De Villiers, Bradman, who do you think is the greatest batsman of all time?
You're losing your voice very badly.
Yeah, I'm sick.
I think it's a ridiculous question. It is clearly a ridiculous question.
Because it's obviously Coley.
The last time, not the last time, England were on tour in Australia in the early 90s and Bradman was interviewed and they asked him, what do you think you'd average against this attack? He said, maybe 50. And they went, 50? You think the standards improved that much? He went, I am nearly 80.
Phil Hughes was the last batsman compared to Bradman.
Who by? He looked a bit like him.
Martin David Crow says, how come Samuels and Yuvraj forgot to pack their bats for the World T20?
That's Martin Crow. I remember he used to go to tournaments without his knees. Why the criticism? Look, Yuvraj had a really bad final, didn't he? But he's played and won in 2 winning global final sides before. These things happen. That's the beauty of cricket.
And Samuels, he won the final for them last time. You can't win everything. Come on, Martin.
You're a harsh man, but it's nice of you to ask the question. Thank you.
Siddharth Keshav says, does England really even care about the ICC events?
I'm trying to work out who you sound like.
Demi Moore.
Of course they do. They're just not very good at the moment. Of course they care. Hey,
they're the only ones who care about the Champions Trophy. The only ones.
The global event before this one, they were in the final. They almost won it. Of course they care.
Pinnaky Swain says,
I can't win.
I would like to know what is going on with Sri Lankan captaincy. Why did they put extra responsibility on Chandimal when his position in the team is not guaranteed? Well, because no one else wanted to captain that side. You've got to remember that teams are not, at this stage, the World T20 captains are not always the greatest leaders or whatever. It's the guy who's willing to actually do the job. And he was in bad form. I thought it took a lot of guts for him to step down, actually. But they've got 19 captains in that side.
I don't know why.
And they've only got 11 players.
I don't know why anyone want a captain. It's a rubbish job. Really.
Lead from behind, the George Dobell way. Sean Ormonroyd says, do you think Owen Morgan is having John Lewis-related nightmares?
About the parking?
They would be the friendliest nightmares of all time, wouldn't they?
Okay, so he means John Lewis the bowler, not the department store, we're presuming. And because Morgan started the season playing county cricket instead of going to the IPL.
Well, did he? I mean, he didn't really play. He walked out in the middle and lost his stumps.
He scored 0 and 2, or didn't score 0 and then scored 2. So he's
didn't score 0 or did score 0? That is a moral question.
One of the big philosophical questions.
Yeah, Owen Morgan hasn't made any runs yet this year. Pratt 1204 says, if Paul Downton was to narrate How I Met Your Coach to the England players of 2025, will the finale be as sour as the sitcoms?
I really like the sitcom.
But have you seen the last episode? That's what he's talking about.
I don't think I have, no.
That's when you finally find out what happened. Spoiler alert, they all get murdered. Satish says, should England take Warne up on his offer of coaching England on his terms, mainly bringing back KP?
Well, my instinctive answer to this is hell no. But actually, they probably should, because he wouldn't want to do the job. He wouldn't want any responsibility. He wouldn't want to be held to account.
Is it like all the times he sort of hinted he was ready to make a comeback, and then when anyone said, well, you have to play one Shield game to make a comeback, he just never played that Shield game.
Yeah, so offer him the job and see how he backs down. There'll be some problem with it, I promise you.
Sam James says, why on earth would you wear duck-shaped batting helmets? Didn't realise being aerodynamic was a key part of batting.
No, they're safer. It's a serious issue.
Nothing to do with aerodynamics.
No,
they're just safer.
They're generally safer. Because before they used to test helmets just by dropping them on the ground, which is useless. And those helmets are tested against a cricket ball impact, obviously.
And asteroid impact.
And the shape of them, I believe, makes them a bit stronger so the ball can't pierce between the top and the grill.
And also, I think what you have is that the other helmets get hit once and you can't use them again. I think these ones are much
The real issue is
stronger.
that the distance between the visor and lid of the helmet might be smaller than the ball, but the ball kept forcing its way through. There have been terrible injuries. So I think it's really good that there's been improvements in helmet design. So this is a really boring answer. It's not the sort of thing we're meant to do, is it?
We're duck-shaped men. A Graham of Thrones says, now Sanger has retired, who's the new cricketer you'd be thrilled won something instead of your team?
Misbah.
DJ Sammy.
No, but
Ross Taylor. All three.
But Misbah in particular, because he took over a Pakistan team that was a bit of a shambles and actually not massively likeable and corrupt, let's be honest, they were. And he's changed them so that there's so much to like about that side and this one. I hope Pakistan supporters are really proud of what that team's done, because it's turned a corner brilliantly.
Also DJ Semi, because he's the nicest guy in cricket other than Jesse Hogan, and Ross Taylor, because I really like Ross Taylor. Qasim from Faisalabad says, next ICC president will be from India, according to the big three. Will India's takeover in ICC and world cricket make negative impact on Pakistan or not? As India banned Pakistan to play in the IPL. I don't think you could have a more negative impact on Pakistan than the fact they can't play at home. Anyway, I'm not quite sure what you could do to do that. They're not really playing India that much either. So I see what you're saying, Qasim, but it's already quite dire for Pakistan. Giles Clark was going to go to Pakistan and fix it, Pakistan, but I don't know. He went once and nothing ever happened.
Do you know what the ICC should do? Serious answer, there should be a 21-team county championship with teams from the West Indies, from maybe Ireland,
West Indies?
Yeah, and Pakistan, A sides played in the county championship all year, give them lots more exposure. The ICC would pay for it.
Yeah, they would. Well, see, ICC aren't even allowed to pay for their Dubai offices at the moment.
Because they've got loads of money.
The ICC don't. The big three cricket boards do.
Well, same thing.
NCK says, ex-cricketers who never played Tony 20 dismiss it as just entertainment and not cricket. Isn't there some cricket involved? Yes.
There is, and it is meant to be entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, it was basically designed to entertain more.
His question's right. It's not really a question, it's a point wrapped up in a question. Now, I think we both agree with you completely.
Yeah, but at the same time, you can see why ex-players who played a completely different format of cricket would dismiss it. Also, quite often, people who are in John Ford films don't always like watching Dude, Where's My Car?
It's just like that.
Beth watches cricket. How do we convince the broadcasters to pay attention to women's cricket? They are slowly, but what broadcasters don't care about helping cricket, they care about making money. That's their job, that's their aim. So slowly, for instance, BBC and ABC are doing it, but they're not actually out to make money. They're government-run organisations. And so it's a slightly different thing. For a TV company like Sky or Channel 9, they've got no reason to show women's cricket, because it doesn't make them any money at the moment. When it makes them money, they will show it.
Well, Sky do. I think they do really well.
They show it occasionally.
Yeah, but they bought into it.
Nick Robbins says, what are your thoughts on counties rebranding for the T20? Is it a gimmick or portent?
What they're trying to do, though, there's a lot of criticism. I can see where they're coming from. Firstly, they owe their
council... Are you
council,
defending Warwickshire and Birmingham?
Behave yourself. Firstly, they owe the council over £20 million, and so if the council asks them to jump, they kind of have to. More importantly, they're trying to appeal to that audience that hasn't been coming, and that is the inner city audience, the Asian audience, and they have to do something to appeal to them. And the fact is that the Warwickshire
Are you saying
brand,
that audience like Bears?
The Warwickshire brand is seen as traditional, seen as unattractive to some people from the community they're trying to appeal to. So I can see where they're coming from, to be honest. I think it's worth a try. In fact, I applaud it.
Knuckle Pandy says, what happens with Myberg now? Will we see him outside the ICC World events in cricket, played like a champ? Well, I can tell you we've got an exclusive about Myberg. He actually, unfortunately, he was trying to stop some crimes, and when he was doing that, he ended up insulting some cops, and the cops came after him and they tried to kill him, but unfortunately they didn't. They killed his whole family. He's now on the run from the law in America's Badlands, bringing other renegades to justice, but he will be back one day.
The problem is that lots of people who watch this won't get irony.
Seat V29, should Steve Smith and Elise Perry start breeding immediately?
I like the fact that I think the guy who asked this question is actually Steve Smith.
But also, more importantly, when did East German breeding of athletes actually consistently work? It didn't. Am I taking this question too seriously?
I think Perry and Smith, you look at that, and I have an opinion about who's getting the better of that deal. That's all.
Melinda Farrell said...
The Melinda Farrell?
Sure. Who would you like to play each of you in a film, and what would the title be?
Do you remember who played Bouncer in Neighbours? Because that would be really good for you.
And Harold Lloyd would be really good for you. He's a silent film actor who always played a really confident, upbeat guy who in the end sort of almost killed himself a lot.
I would like to be played by Russell Crowe.
What would we call our film? Naked...
Bouncer. Who played Bouncer?
Oiled up in the outback.
You're thinking it's a dog. It might not have been a dog. It might just have been a very skilled actor. Right. I'd like to be Russell Crowe.
You'd like to play Russell Crowe?
I will answer your polite inquiry, either in this life or the next.
Change Daily says, Jared and George, are you two a couple? Well, when you say, are you two a couple? Yes, technically there are two of us.
It's like Ross and Rachel, isn't it? Who's are they? Will they?
I was on a break!
I'd like to think I'm Rachel.
You can put comments down below on YouTube, or you can hashtag polite inquiries, and we will answer them as seriously today as any day. See you next week. You want to be Rachel?
Take that bit out.
Hello, cricket, and welcome to the